Hey, what's going on everybody? My name is Jay Cruz and welcome back to another video. In this one I'm going to be answering some of your frequently asked questions. Before we get started, please do all of the things that help this channel grow. Like this video, subscribe and comment below, and be sure to hit the bell icon so you get an alert every single time I upload a video. Without further ado, let's get started. Now these questions are not just questions that I get on my YouTube comments, these are questions that I get on DMs on Instagram, text messages, people who have my personal number, Facebook messages, my website, which you can go visit right now at jcruzproject.org. So I get questions from multiple different sources, but it would be very helpful if you left your questions underneath the videos, specifically this one, and I will be sure to try to answer your question if I didn't do so already in the next one. Frequently asked question number 1. What kind of camera do you use? This is actually a really good question because this is something that I've always wondered when I watch certain YouTubers, some of my favorite channels, of course, and I always want to know what gear they're using at that moment. And so I'll tell you, it's actually a setup that I believe is relatively cost effective. It still definitely costs money, but not nearly as expensive as some of the other camera gear that I could have gotten. My wife is a professional photographer, so she has actually a lot better gear, and I guess I technically have access to that gear, but I choose not to use her things because I don't want to mess them up in any kind of way. So this is all stuff that I've purchased over the years for my own personal YouTube channel. My current main camera is the Sony a6400 with the Sony 18-105 lens. I really love this camera. It gives me a lot of flexibility. It's extremely small in comparison to some of the other DSLRs or mirrorless cameras that are out there. For example, my wife's Canon Mark III. It's a massive difference in size. It's lightweight, easy to carry around and vlog with, but it sits in a stand just like it is right now, perfectly fine as well. So it kind of covers everything that I needed to cover. It has autofocus, image stabilization, all of the things that you kind of need specifically when you're out and about vlogging. I've definitely noticed the difference in quality of my videos, especially when I get the lighting just right. It's pretty much night and day in comparison to maybe my cell phone videos back in the early days of when I was recording on this YouTube channel. Before this, I was using an iPhone. I think at best I was using an iPhone 7, which is, don't get me wrong, you can do a lot with an iPhone. That's a perfect tool. But I definitely noticed a difference in quality when I switched over to a pro camera.
What's going on everybody? My name is Jay Cruz and this is how I use it, the Boss ES5.
For some of my other shots, maybe like my pedal board things, some of my B-rolls, a lot of times I still use my iPhone, and for that I'll use my iPhone X. So honestly, it's the way you use the gear, not always what gear you use. YouTube is flooded with content, but it can always use more of you. In the same topic, people ask me about the mic that I use along with my camera. I'm currently using a Rode Micro on my camera right now. For other things, like when I'm playing guitar and speaking at the same time, I like to go directly into my interface. For that, I use my studio mic, which is the Audio-Technica AT2035. A workhorse for me. I don't do much singing, obviously, so most of the time I use it as a voiceover mic, and I think it's a little overkill for that, but definitely a good mic, good all-around mic. And if you're looking for a first studio mic, condenser mic purchase, I think that's a very, very good one. It's a great price range and gets the job done. The other questions that I get a lot more frequently have to do with the HX Stomp, especially now that I recently released my glitz reverb setting video. I keep getting asked if I'm going to eventually release a video about my delays and about the amp settings and my EQ settings and all of that. And the answer is yes, one video at a time. See, I think it's too much information to put in just one long video, so I'm going to be breaking it down as part of my How I Use It series. I'm going to be focusing on my delays in one video, and then I'll just break it down little by little, and before you know it, you have all of my settings. Now, as far as selling my patches, I've talked about this before. I know I said I would work on that and get that done, but it's just not on the radar right now. There's too much that I'm working on. And the last thing I want to do is keep making empty promises. So I do not have any intention on selling my patch right now. I'm not the kind of guy making patches on a daily basis. Once I find something I like, I tend to stick to it and stick to it for a really long time. And even when I make upgrades or changes, it's not very different. It's just like a lateral move or switching to something that's just a little more functional for me. So the sounds are very similar to sounds that I've been getting for years and years now. So it's not like I can really make this into a business. So I'm not going to be like the next Tone Junkie or worship tutorial guys, right? I just don't have it in me to keep making patches over and over and over again. So it's not really something that I'm interested in jumping into right now, but maybe in the future. Another question that I get a lot is, what is that Telecaster that you're using? Is it a Fender? And it's funny that I get this question a lot because I oftentimes refer to my Telecaster and who makes it. So I'm pretty much in every video where I use it, I let people know which one it is, but you know, people miss the information. I totally get it. So the Telecaster that I used in my video is actually from Nash Guitars, and it's a Nash T52 to be more exact. It looks old and beat up, but it's not. It was actually made that way in relic. But I have to say it's my dream guitar. I've said this in other videos before. If someone asked me to make a dream guitar, I would make that exact guitar over and over and over again. So I've been really enjoying it. I still feel giddy playing it and talking about it like as if it's the first day that I ever bought it. So definitely one of the highlights of my entire career was being able to purchase that guitar. The last question actually has to do with the HX Stomp again. This is not a frequently asked question, but I thought it was like an interesting question, right? I had a friend of mine's reach out to me and he was telling me how he wasn't using the HX Stomp for amps, but he was using it as a sort of like an added unit. So he has a Strymon Timeline, an HX Stomp, and a Strymon Big Sky, and that's exactly how he keeps it in his effects order chain. And what he does is he likes to really go ambient, and he'll go into the delays of the Timeline, then into the HX Stomp where he adds more delays and reverb, a glitz reverb, and then he goes into the Big Sky. So this is for his swells and his really big ambient worship stuff. But he's also using the HX Stomp as an interface, and so when he does that, he loses his Big Sky. And so he was asking me what was the best way to sort of solve that problem and still keep the Big Sky last in his chain. And this is something that I think a lot of people forget about with the HX Stomp, is that it has an effects loop. Now it will take up a block, but I think it's absolutely worth it. And that's utilizing the effects loop and then inputting that effects loop wherever you want it. So for example, the Big Sky will be going into the HX Stomp, but it can technically be last in the chain because he can move that block anywhere he wants to, including make it be the very last pedal. So if you're using the HX Stomp in that way, where you want a pedal like a reverb, like the Big Sky to be your last sound, but you don't want it to technically be your last pedal because you want to come out of the HX Stomp, that's the easiest solution, is using that effects loop and inputting an effects loop block in your patch so that you can now place that effect anywhere you want to, such as last. That's gonna do it for this version of frequently asked questions. If you want your question featured on this series, please do me a favor, comment below, and I will try to include it in the next video. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Once again, please do all of the things to help this channel grow. Like this video, comment and subscribe below, and be sure to hit the bell icon so you know every single time I upload a video. Thanks again for watching, and until next time.